returning then to what Iqbal is doing here, when he's using the analogy of our own experience to try to uncover the underlying nature of ultimate reality, when we turn to ourselves, we perceive two layers. The first layer that we recognize is what Iqbal calls the efficient self. This is the subject of associationist psychology, and it's modeled on the discrete spatialized nature of physics, where the states, mental states, are detached from each other, laid out in sequence along serial time. The deeper, truer perhaps, dimension of the self, what Iqbal calls the appreciative self, defies such analysis. Iqbal here quotes Bergson, and he says, when we interrogate this deeper dimension of ourself, what do we find? We find that we pass from state to state. I am warm or cold. I am merry or sad. I work or I do nothing. I look at what is around me or I think of something else. Sensations, feelings, volitions, ideas. Such are the changes into which my existence is divided and which colour it in turns. I change them without ceasing. So ceaseless but unitary, perhaps paradoxically, unitary change. And I think this is an experiment we can conduct right now. So just reflect upon your experience right now and how you have experienced the day-to-day and how you're able to move back and forth, expand or contract your consciousness, to choose to recall what Professor Majid said, or to forget and to concentrate on my thought, or whatever it is that you're worrying about, whatever is kind of gripping your mind right now. Now there is a unity here, yes, but not therefore a static, lifeless unity. It is unity consisting of a multiplicity, like a myriad-tinted spectrum, to use one of Bergson's metaphors. What characterizes it is its durational nature, where each state draws with it the traces of previous states and anticipates and announces states yet to arrive. There is a mutual interpenetration between the states. But ultimately, what I've just described is already a counterfeit to a direct intuitive contact with our own experience, which can reveal the real nature. It's something that, as soon as you put it into language, especially say, analytic language, you lose something of its true quality. So already here we see how this idea enables us to rethink certain inherited, cherished, but complex, even problematic notions in Islam, concepts in Islam. For example, taqdeer. So we read in the Quran that God created all things according to its taqdeer, to its destiny. And of course the problem here is that is this a denial of freedom? That for Iqbal, this is not the case. And to quote him, it says, the destiny of a thing, the taqdeer of a thing, is not an unrelenting fate working from without like a taskmaster. It is the inward reach of a thing, its realizable possibilities, which lie within the depths of its nature, and serially actualize themselves without any feeling of external compulsion. Thus, the organic wholeness of duration does not mean that fully fledged events are lying, as it were, in the womb of reality, and drop one by one like the grains of sand from the hourglass. So on analogy with our own intimate experience, Iqbal submits his key thesis. The universe is a free, creative movement. There are three words there, and each of those three words are highly significant, and each one is a criticism of a certain position, both the comparative position, as was said before, of Hellenic, Islamic Hellenism, and also a certain position in modernist philosophers. The first word, the first important term is that the universe is a creative movement. It's a movement. So fundamentally, primarily, reality is mobility. Movement is primary. Things, objects, entities are derivative. They are retrospectively posited to explain mobility. Movement once accomplished. So for instance, if I raise my arm, I raise it in a simple, indivisible movement. It's a simple, singular act, which I accomplish once I accomplish, I can decompose, we can all decompose into as many static movement moments as I care. But I will never be able to reconstruct the original movement by combining these immobilized sections. Second, reality is creative. There is genuine, fresh novelty in life. We're required to affirm this creativity on pain of denying reality to time. So if we refuse creativity to life, we refuse ascribing creativity to life, then we have to refuse ascribing reality to time. We have to refuse ascribing efficacy to time. As Bergson says, time is efficacious or nothing at all. Now, if we accept this, we must modify our view on teleology, the idea that life unfolds according to some prefabricated plan. Okay, so the fact that a naive teleology denies true creativity is clear. Again, to go back to Iqbal, puts it really very beautifully. It reduces the universe, this kind of naive teleology, to a mere temporal reproduction of a pre-existing eternal scheme or structure in which individual events have already found their proper places, waiting, as it were, for their respective turns to turn into the temporal sweep of history. All is already given somewhere in eternity. I think we should recognize this idea. It's one many of us that's what we hold on to. The temporal order of events is nothing more than a mere imitation of the eternal mode. Such a view is hardly distinguishable from mechanism, which he has already rejected. In fact, it is a kind of veiled materialism. And this is a radical criticism, a very controversial criticism. This is a kind of veiled materialism in which fate or destiny takes the place of rigid determinism, leaving no scope for human or even divine freedom. So a renewed teleology, on the other hand, based on the evidence of our own conscious experiences, involves, for Iqbal, progressive formations of fresh ends and purposes. It's not purposeful in the sense of heading ineluctably towards a fixed, pre-given destination. Instead, it is a movement in time. In fact, it is time itself. It's the marking out of time. So it possesses a continuity and represents the actualization of its infinite potentiality. This progression, though it is unpredictable and truly creative, it is not chaotic, it's not unsystemized. It moves with its own coherent structure, logic, and organization. So now that Iqbal has modeled the nature of reality on the durational character of our own experience, he thinks we should conceive the unitary, continuous, durational quality of ultimate reality as the unity of a self, of an ultimate ego. As I said before, once we acknowledge that all things endure, it's of course, I mean, it is a perverse statement. It's a very provocative statement. You know, to put it vulgarly, it's to put it oversimplified and in a vulgar way. Basically, what this statement says to you to just get some hook onto this idea. It's to say that all objects, in a sense, endure, and that all objects then possess a certain form, a certain kind of consciousness, to the extent that they endure. So we must say that they all possess an intrinsic memory. They draw with them their past. Since consciousness consists in memory, all things in the universe are invested with a kind of consciousness, a proto-consciousness, if you like. The degree of consciousness which they enjoy is proportional to the extent of the past that they prolong in their passage towards the future, that they drag with them towards their future. Moreover, the more of the past that is carried or retained, the richer the future possibilities that are disclosed. In summary, as Iqbal says, to exist in pure duration is to be a self. And to be a self is to be able to say, I am.